Hey, Smirk here. The all new releases page really is a roulette. You never know what you're going to get. Sometimes you get a Toodles and Toddlers, sometimes you get a Lottery Center simulator. Let's learn a little bit about what I got today. Today's topic is a game called Failure Drill. It's the second release by the developer Rookbird Games and the 7th game published by Black Ski Weekend Industries. It was released on March 11th of 2023 and normally costs $6 US. When I originally found the game, it had no reviews, but between my playthrough and the production of this video, it did get one negative review from another player. I was originally drawn into Failure Drill because of the screenshots from the Steam store page. I really dug the art style, and I'm a sucker for psychological horror games, so it was an easy pick for me after looking through the weekly releases. Failure Drill is a 2D game that plays closer to a visual novel than anything else. You spend most of your time reading text, with the occasional need of having to click or drag things, usually for puzzle purposes. You even have the opportunity to practice your art skills by drawing something at the beginning of the game. In this game's narrative, you play as Claire, a young woman who is brought into what seems to be a military academy because she seems to be lacking empathy. It's not really clear to me what condition she has, but that's what I gathered. Anyway, prior to her enrollment, Claire appears to come from a somewhat stressful environment. She's not doing well in school, and she has a brother named Swan who curses the stress she brings to the family. She meets the falsely declared dead hero Basil Myers, who gives a friendly nudge towards her enrollment at the academy, which ultimately seems to cure her decision paralysis. For what seems to be the cadet class's first training assignment, they are each to watch over an outpost for straggling enemies during a war that's occurring. But before that, we learn that Claire's ass at basketball and there's a LeBron James in the making. The game has a runtime of about 30 minutes if you're a slow reader or get stuck on puzzles. I played the game twice to try and expand my understanding of the game, and my playtime will reflect that. When it comes to the good stuff, I appreciate the art. It's well drawn, and there's this one very prominent scene where there's some excellently executed on lighting effects as the camera pans in a game that is otherwise lacking any animation. When it comes to movement of the characters, they teleport with fade-ins and outs as opposed to traditional animated movements. When it comes to the stuff that I enjoyed a little less, the beginning of the game is a bit rough with some grammatical and spelling flaws. These are pretty cardinal because it's a visual novel. The text is like 90% of the game. I do suspect that English may not be the developer's first language. My hint for that is that the radio says DIC for the slot of December, and some of the languages that would use that spelling would either be Spanish or Italian. These mistakes taper off later, with only one spelling error being present, but it comes at the peak of the plot, so it gave me a minor chuckle. Another thing that really undermined some of the immersion is that the game felt awfully quiet. There's several stretches of time where there's no sound effects, and no ambient music. It just makes things feel odd. It's overly present in the first chapter of the game, in what could be considered a monumental part because it helps you feel connected to the characters in the world that has been created. Instead, and not just because of the sound, but the world felt empty, the characters felt flat, and the scenario the game writes out for you felt shallow. To stack up another tough pill that I had to swallow was the gameplay. There's two puzzles in this game, and the controls felt a bit clunky on both of them. In levers and knobs, your mouse cursor has to stay in contact with them, meaning you'll stop, air quotes, holding on to them as you try to rotate things. The temperature puzzle was also really frustrating because I had no idea what Claire's ideal temperature was. She says not too hot, not too cold, and personally when I'm looking at the thermometer, that could be a pretty big range. Eventually, through a lot of trial and error and my failure in understanding that I have to turn the water knob to get the water to come on instead of clicking it, I did find the ideal temperature. I feel like I learned more about Claire here than what I felt was any other point in the game. Lastly, and I won't spoil anything so don't worry, but the story, the narrative, the characters, they're all really rushed. To read what the About This game says on the store Steam page, in this 2D story-driven single-player adventure game set in the near future, the player controls a schoolgirl named Claire during her journey to find purpose and acceptance as a military cadet in a mysterious war, while also attempting to understand the often overlooked enigmas her identity and reality hinged upon before enlisting. This game is a story-rich drama with psychological horror themes and stylized 2D art. That is a lot to cover in 30 minutes. No? I'd agree. Let's keep our mind open to the possibility that it's covered incompletely at best or inappropriately at worst. Everything is super fast-paced. It feels like there's missing scenes in between almost every single scene change. There could have been transitionary tooltips to help fill in the blanks, but at almost every single point of the game, I question the passage of time. Between going from room to room, sleep to sleep, scene to scene, and that's not good because I can't even begin to understand what the character's going through if I don't understand how long they've been going through it. Another thing that really undermines the storytelling aspect is that there's several characters that are introduced and we never hear about again. Okay, fine, it's not their story, whatever, we'll write them off. The enemy appeals to me because they make the ground damp when they're near, and that's really cool. Maybe I'll learn about them. No, I won't. So world building goes out the window, so we're only really left with Claire. Okay, that's fine. This game's about Claire, so let's zoom in on her. Do I think Claire really explored the concept of identity? Oh, hardly. Maybe there's one or two dialogue pieces contributing to that at most. Did she confront reality? Yeah, sure, but what did she gain from it? Purpose? Well, I guess she did, but it's not really conveyed to us as an audience about how she ultimately came upon this purpose. No monologues, minimal conversations between her newfound purpose and the actions she takes. All in all, the whole thing is rushed from start to finish and loses me as a spectator, which disconnects me from developing any type of character compassion from the fictional world or the characters inside of it. The game absolutely fails to deliver as a self-described story-rich drama, and the most horrifying thing about this game is its conveyance of the heavy topics it wants to talk about. That captures my feelings on the game. I'm giving this game a 3 out of 10, and that's only because of the visual art. The gameplay, sound design, and storytelling all held this game back beyond what I would have expected for the price. For $6, it definitely doesn't deliver on what I would have expected. I could have seen this story succeeding more as an episodic webcomic, but the developer chose this medium instead, and here we are. That wraps us up. Like the video if you liked the video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe if you want to see some of my future content. Feel free to slap that bell's thick ass if you want to receive notifications for future videos.
So cute. Bye-bye.